moving on now to primary education. I remember like in my experience, as a teacher in the past, going way back now, um, like I used there was a program there for teachers to use. I can't recall the name of it, but it had all these sort of things, and it was a bit of a game like that. Um, the question I'm asking is, um, you know, how important is cyber safety, these days, particularly at the primary age, how important is it now, in terms, with everything that's going on, why do we as educators need to sort of really, embed that knowledge into children that age?
Yeah, great question. And the embed word you used at the end, I think, is poignant to what I'm going to reply with, is that often, and for a lot of years, cyber safety has sort of been this like little box to tick. And often it's in term one, you give the kids the user agreements and you might do a few lessons, and World Safer Internet Day, lots of schools celebrate. It happens in term one, and that was sort of like, yes, we've done it. Kids are good, they're safe, wait till next year. A big idea that I am really passionate about is that as classroom teachers in primary schools, it needs to be ongoing. And that doesn't necessarily always mean set aside like a cyber safety lesson each term, but digging into, and a simple example I often give is like your writing units that might be persuasive writing or information reports, whatever. We all teach these topics within the literacy block each and every week in primary schools. They're a perfect opportunity to dig back into some of these topics and just build some of that critical thinking, and getting kids to question, getting them to discuss. But it all sits in your writing block, and it's a great opportunity, because the obvious thing is I don't have time to teach another topic or another subject area. Absolutely. Being a classroom teacher for a lot of years, can 100% agree with that. But I think an opportunity is lost if we ignore writing as a perfect opportunity. Teach the writing skills, that we scaffold a persuasive piece of writing with 3 arguments and a conclusion and emotive language and all of that. But give the kids a chance to write about why gaming can be really positive, or give them a chance to reflect on how social media has positives and negative sides to it. And it gives you an opportunity as a class teacher to have lots of rich discussions as you brainstorm and share your adult insights as well, and have that really input into their online space, but without having to carve out a cyber safety lesson. So in answer to your question, it is critical. It's vital that is seen by classroom teachers as not the job of the ICT or the e-learning teacher that might have them once a week. But if you've got them on devices, I always say this to teachers, if you've got your kids using Google Drive or using Mathletics or Scratch, whatever they're doing online, if they're on their devices in your classroom, that's actually on you as well to be part of their learning in this online safety space. So revisiting it would be a huge one in my book, is just a change in that mindset, that it's not checkbox and they're done for the year.
Yeah, no, I would agree, 100%, Martin. I think that, the best approach really, is, to have an integrated approach. I mean, and even if like, if the ICT teacher could sort of get the ball rolling, do a unit there, then educate, the other staff. All right. This is what I've taken the students through. This is what you can do. And then, have an integrated approach, help them to sort of like understand that it's not, an extra subject, that they have to teach, but an integrated approach. The internet is used, almost daily, at school. So there's ample opportunities there for them to sort of, say, well, look, today we're going to be, looking into this, have a simple class discussion, what do you know are the best ways to, find out information to this? What are the best, sites of this? Why is it the best site? Just simple, discussions like that, find out what they know, then direct them. Okay. That's how they do it. That's why we don't go to this website. It's not, good information, that sort of thing. A real integrated approach. On anything they use, with technology, really, online.
Absolutely. And the added layer of classroom teachers. So definitely agree. I think schools that have, and lots of people tuning into this might be themselves the ICT, e-learning, digitech leader at their school, and it might fall in your brief, and absolutely spearhead it by all means, and be the ones to sort of to drive it in your school, but then be really adamant that it doesn't stop at your door and that the classroom teachers, because the other big one we know is when kids have issues online, and it often happens outside of school, whether it's in messaging apps or gaming and cyberbullying, or even worst case scenarios where kids are finding themselves in an uncomfortable situation, perhaps being groomed online, any of these really worst case scenarios, what we want to surround the kids in is people who are trusted adults that they can go to for help. And a teacher who's never spoken about like the online world and opened up those dialogue, the child's never going to be approaching them saying, Miss, Mr, something, can I speak to you about something that's happening online? That's just not going to happen if you haven't built that rapport in around the online space, if you've never opened up these discussions. Because we know something I've found out through my work many years with young people in primary schools particularly, is they often don't go to parents and carers with issues online, because the very obvious reason is that they think they'll get banned off their devices and they'll get digitally amputated. So kids tell us that very much. No way I'd tell mum or dad that I'm having this huge issue online because I'm just going to be kicked off my device. And so they'd rather manage something really at times challenging, and then it can snowball, unfortunately. But what we know, the school has a big part to play in that as another trusted adult that the young people can come to when they've got these issues happening online, just as it might just be to bounce an idea back and forth. They mightn't be comfortable going to mum or dad or parents or carers at home, but the school can provide an amazing another avenue for them to have a trusted adult. But that will only happen if you're proactively opening up these conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, being, online is a part of life these days. And whether we are parents or educators, we need to be open-minded about things, and not to sort of close the door. And when someone comes to us and says, ask us a question, or might not even come to us, because of what you said, fear of being digitally amputated. We just need to, be open-minded about that, and I think, where you're going with this, like, is try and just, open-minded, and allow students, to approach you, about anything to do with that, without fear of losing the rights to, having access to the digital technology. So what are some other key, points that you try to get across to teachers in primary schools?
Yeah, I guess another big concept that I think is really important to understand for teachers, and as I keep saying, these are also really important for parents to understand, is I think when we look at our young people online, we know there's so many amazing opportunities online. That's a given. If you're in this space, you know how awesome and incredible the online world is. But if we look at just for a moment, like the risks online of young people, I think you can broadly look at them in two categories around what our kids are consuming. So I'm talking about like that TikTok infinite scroll of just content after content, YouTube shorts, all of that they are consuming. There's a whole a whole level of adult intervention required there, because they're going to be hearing sexualized content, they're going to be hearing language, they're going to be hearing racist, homophobic, all this sort of content. They will be consuming it no matter what barriers we put in place. So what kids consume online is a real consideration, because that needs the adults to be really, not outspoken is the wrong word, but just needs to be really active in making sure they're hearing balanced views around even like primary schools talking about like Trump and talking about the role of men in society. These sort of things, you wouldn't even have thought we would talk about these in primary schools years ago, but they absolutely are, because of what they're exposed to online. And if they're not hearing another voice from either a teacher or parent or carer, at that age, they're absolutely open to being influenced by who they hear and see online. So the consuming's a big one, and there's lots around the sexuality content and porn that they're unfortunately immersed in when they're in the online space. And that needs lots of parents and teachers to be balancing that with really healthy messaging. But so that's the consuming, and that's a whole conversation. But the other one is the interacting. Who do kids interact with? Because that creates a whole nother risk around, I alluded to earlier, grooming and young people being online. A topic that's not really nice to talk about, but it's 100% a risk that we need to acknowledge as kids are online, is that if they're in a place where they have any ability to message, so I'm talking Roblox, the most popular game right now for primary schools, it has a chat function. If they're on Discord, we know that's another platform that a lot of young people are using from a younger and younger age, Snapchat, you name it. Anything where there is direct messaging, kids are then exposed to that risk of adults grooming through direct messaging. So who they're interacting with also then gets into that whole cyberbullying, because they might be interacting with their known friendship group, but then when they turn toxic, do kids have the skill set to navigate? So I'd love, rather than just looking at the internet more broadly, thinking, okay, our kids are online, what they're consuming, and some kids are big consumers. You'll see them just scrolling. That's their thing. Others are really into the social side of it. And with that social comes the interacting risks and then the consuming risks. Lots of kids merge the two, but it's a good way to sort of have a more nuanced approach to than just like sort of the online world has lots of risks and dangers. They really do fit into those two different sort of aspects. So it's one that I'd love more teachers and parents just to look at it a little bit more nuanced in that interacting versus consuming.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier the website Common Sense Media, I think it is.
Yeah.
What tools do you encourage primary teachers to use, to achieve their goal in, online safety education? Are there any more specific sort of tools that they could use? Do you have anything on your website that they can go and look for?
Yeah, absolutely. So that Common Sense Media all the way up through primary, the eSafety site, and shameless plug here, the work I do in primary schools, we live stream our sessions. So we actually, as a team of teachers, drop into classrooms as a live stream once every term to, again, align with that messaging that it really needs to be ongoing. So across on our Inform and Empower, we've got, you can dabble around there and look at what we do, but it's a program that works throughout a whole year, and it's been a real like labor of love in designing what we do to support schools, and really excited that because of the live stream aspect, we've got schools tuning in geographically. We're in the Torres Strait Islands, in the Northern Territory, Tasmania. The beauty of what we do is it's not confined by barriers, and hence why the internet is such an amazing tool. So we sort of lean on that whole fact that the internet's an incredible way of connecting people. Let's connect around online safety. So there's my shameless plug. The work I do with schools is about live streaming into classrooms, and with all sorts of bells and whistles and storytelling. But if you're looking at sort of what's out there, definitely recommend Common Sense. Be Internet Awesome through, it's a Google resource. It's another great one. that's got some lessons for teachers, and it has a little interactive game the kids can play. They absolutely love that game on Interland, it's called, which is part of Be Internet Awesome. So I think there you go to. There's a lot out there. A lot gets dated really quickly, so you have to be really careful. But between e-safety, common sense education, Be Internet Awesome, and Inform and Empower, I think between those, you're going to find lots of support for what you're going to be doing in your classrooms.
I was also going to ask you too, Martin, if like teachers can book your services, like, can they have can they book you for a PD session, so maybe you might want to, do a live stream, into the staff room. Can they book you to do those sort of things?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Being a primary school teacher myself, I absolutely love that chance to chat with teachers, because to talk how it can fit into a busy week, those sort of topics, and to talk the sort of conversation you can have is something I really enjoy. So I would love the opportunity. We do a lot of webinar. I'm based in Melbourne, so face-to-face sessions with schools. We do travel occasionally. We get up to Queensland, off to the Gold Coast next year for a group of schools. So we have the opportunity to either do something digital or face-to-face if it's a Melbourne school. We think the teachers play such a huge part that definitely working with teachers would be an element if you're in your school going, how do we bring our whole community on board? Definitely teachers, but also parents. I've alluded to a few things along the way, but we run parent sessions and lots of organisations do, but I would really encourage you to bring the parents along on the journey, because a big thing is if you're teaching amazing skills and opening up conversations in the classroom, if they're walking home and the parents are none the wiser and there's no boundaries and supervision, just because of lots of parents don't know what they don't know, you're missing an opportunity as a school to bring them on board. And often parents are crying out for some support in this space. We run lots of parent nights as well, virtually and face-to-face. So reach out to see who might be the best to provide your school with something for your parents separately from your kids as well. I think is a really big piece of the puzzle, and the staff, as you mentioned as well, Michael.
Yep. So what would be the key message that you would like to sort of get out to parents and educators about online safety?
Start early, definitely start early. It's not late primary school, secondary. Start as early with so many conversations. Make them ongoing, make them non-confrontational, lean into their world. I think above all else, circling back to sort of where I started, was there's not one magic bullet that's going to solve anyone's online safety issues for kids. But as a parent, if you're curious, having lots of conversations, you absolutely, and as a parent or a teacher, you're setting your kids up for success.
Yep. And everybody, and if they want to, they can go to your website, find more information about, about your services. And, what I'll do also, Martin, I'll add a link to your website with this recording. So people who view this video can go straight there and find out more if they want to. Well, thanks so much, Martin, for today. Look, it is such a privilege and a pleasure to meet you, and I really appreciate it. So thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you very much, mate. A great opportunity. Love chatting to yourself and the education community. Thanks so much for having us.
No problem. To learn more about how to successfully integrate technology into your early childhood learning environment, become a member of the ICT in Education Teacher Academy today and gain instant access to over 80 plus online PD workshops, webinar replays, technology integration lesson plans for early childhood education, and ebooks, all for just $20 per month. You'll find the link below this video in the description.